Well, it's almost noon, so I wish you a good morning to Ray's garage here. Uh, Somebody had asked me about my electric bike, and there it is. I don't know if you heard me say, "Welcome to Ray's garage." Good morning or not. It's almost noon, but I didn't have my mic in my hand. Looks like it's on. I've got all my equipment up and running, it says. So hopefully you can hear me. Well, today, just to keep things on an even keel, I want to first thank everybody that listened to my video as much as I ranted and raved, and you get to see the side of Ray's temper, if you will. But see the butt? Everything that went on before that is wiped out according to my subs. Some of the things I talked about, and I know that if you yell and scream, people have the tendency to turn off the person. In other words, whatever you say is not going to be heard, no matter how loud you are or how much you scream or point fingers. And I know that that's true because I have the tendency to shut people off that do that as well. When I talked about a responsible parent not putting yourself in the way of harm, I really meant that. Responsible parents try to keep their kids, even though we have laws saying you can go where you want, you can travel the streets you want. It is foolish to test your rights in a dangerous situation. I don't know how I can put that where you're not going to twist the words around on me. But it's kind of like if you go down to Skid Row in any city, large city, and you get attacked. Now, you knew better than to go to Skid Row, and you got attacked. You were a victim, but you put yourself in harm's way. Two wrongs don't make it right. You were wrong for going in there, and they were wrong for attacking you. It was against the law to attack you. So did you bring it on to yourself? I would say most people would say yes. You walked into the danger. You shouldn't have expected a problem. Maybe you don't. If you don't have good sense, then I guess only the Lord can protect you at that point. I think that in Otter Creek, you have some attractive nuisances there that are out there because of people just like me. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, because of the notoriety that Otter Creek has gotten, and this is nationwide and actually worldwide, it draws people in there because they're curious and they want to see what's going on. Now, one of the most dangerous spots in that town right now is this spot where this child actually walked up to the fence. Now, people there said that she was out in the road, and that's correct. When this guy, according to all the things out there, apparently pulled a gun. This John, okay? And they were in the road at the time when that happened. But prior to that, they had been up to the fence. The fence is on both sides of that fence belong to the property owners. That's Miss Preston and Mr. Cook. So when you enter somebody's property, you have to be very careful. Now, part of that attractive nuisance is they have a sign up there about their, what do you call it, their nonprofit system there for turtles. I don't know exactly what it says up there. I've seen the sign, I just haven't paid any attention to it. And I've only seen the sign on here. Make no mistake, I don't live there. Okay. I make assumptions, and sometimes I get nailed for it. I can only tell you what my opinion or how I'd react. And I've done that and tried to keep it as open as I could. But there's times where people act foolishly, and sometimes it's not, you don't want to feed the bear and you don't want to tease it. And this situation, no matter which side you're on, okay, if you walk in the shoes of either side, you're going to find justification in what you're doing. People that have mental issues, if we tease them and make their life miserable, do you feel good about that? Now, in that situation there, I don't know what can be done about it. I really don't. We don't have the facilities in our nation anymore to help people like that out. And I'm only saying people like that because I'm going by what I've been told or shown, or the interactions between the two neighbors that are fighting. Now, I think there's some problems with the people that are right about it, too. I guess I wouldn't want to continue attacking a neighbor knowing that what kind of a reaction it gets. And I'm not sure why that's going on quite like that. From what I can read on the internet and other places, it is not a good quality to do those things. Now, the fact that they took him to court, they have every right to take him to court because these people were breaking the law. Now, whether the other people are breaking the law or not is just a matter of conscience in certain ways. And I don't know how the law can be interpreted, but certainly by continually battering people verbally could be considered an attack. And there has to come a time where that assault is the same as the stalkers. But I don't know where the line would be, and I don't want to see it crossed. I don't want to lose the First Amendment, and because we take advantage of certain situations, we could very well lose that First Amendment. It's very easy to lose the Second Amendment because the judge at any time can say so. And the red flag federal law can also cause you to lose that right to carry a firearm. A lot of wrongs going on out there. And I can tell you one thing. I feel that I've contributed to the wrongs just by getting on there and saying things about Otter Creek. So the best way to not be part of it maybe is to dismiss it away. It could very well be that that's the only thing that can make that little village survive. You know, they were there long before the outsiders came in and got into a neighborhood fight. And one, because of size and financial abilities or stability, can overwhelm the other one easily. And I know one says, I don't make any money off from this. Well, we know this. I went back and I checked. And there's some tools out there. Yes, you can check somebody's channel and you get to see how many people actually are there, how many subs, comments. There's a lot of things you can check on it. And I did do that. So there's no way that money wasn't made off from this, since this whole thing started when you're talking 30, 40,000 increase in subs. That's substantial. You can actually make a pretty decent living off from 40,000 subs if you're playing everything right. And they do. You know, they have their at least once a week chat. People put money in there continuously. It's just revolving around with all these donations. And the donations show up. You know, you get a little colored, like an envelope with your name on it and the amount. And so the person that's up there talking can look over at that and they say, thank you. You know, and they say the name out. But if you're not if you're not outlined in some way, it's pretty hard to distinguish you from others. Also, you can sell merchandise. They call it merch. and you make out pretty good. Now, the primary existence for Jeremy is lockers. Buys and or actually pays for the locker, bids on it, and the goods are his. Other people have not paid the rent, and so it's the only way that a owner can recover some of what's owed for the rental of that place. Very legitimate. Very legitimate to buy it and resell it, and he does. He resells it online. Seems to do pretty darn well. And he's accumulated a pretty good amount of goods, collectibles, and he's been able to afford a pretty nice home. I don't think he's hurting at all. Now, the other people that have stalked him, and there's no doubt in my mind that they did, and I think they thought because of the notoriety of this other guy that he gives away so much and has give back lockers to the people that owned them, and they don't realize that the lockers that were given back, most of the time, this same person has went over the rhetoric on that locker probably triple time, 3 times. And the income off from that, you can get anywhere from 100,000 to maybe several million subs to come in and look at it. You make pretty good money off that when it happens. So even though you're very good about giving things back, which is I think it's still a good thing. You tell people if you want your stuff back, you can have it. But you're making money on it because you're on the internet and you're telling everybody about it, and you're patting yourself on the back. You're ringing your bell and making money out of it. So it's hard to say, hey, I give all my money away. I give it away. Well, you give a lot away. It's just an explanation, people. So please don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you how it works. It's a business. And he's not the only one that does that. Please don't think I'm calling him out to the point where somebody needs to chase him down. This is part of being a specialist in reclaiming lockers and selling what's in there. And part of it you can give back to people. That's your choice, and there's ways to make money by giving money away. And it's very easy, and most of them will tell you how it's done. There's no secret. And then the viewers come along and they give money too. They're special because they've joined the club or joined membership or whatever it is. Pay a few bucks out here, a few bucks out here. And you're special. You get the little check mark and all that. I don't want you to feel bad for these people or be against them. It's a business like other business. You go into a retail store, they sell you a t-shirt or a pair of shorts or whatever it is. It's marked up probably close to 100% maybe. And you're happy that they had it there, and they're happy that you came in. You're a customer. Just remember, you're still the customer. People like me that come out there on the internet, all we do really is we disseminate what we see and repeat it. And in our country, you can do that. Just as a parent, if they wish, can walk down most streets, or at least on the side of the street, wherever the right-of-way is. But you have to take in mind, if it's a busy highway, what could happen to you. And you certainly wouldn't take your child and walk alongside a busy highway. At least I would hope you would. There's too much danger there. Now, if a person hits you, they're going to get a ticket because they're in the wrong for hitting you, but why would you put yourself in danger's way? I've never understood the concept of blame, but we all do things that put us in harm's way in one manner or another at different times. I've had people on there say, well, they were out in the street, it's okay. Well, it is if you wish it to be. It's legal. But harm's way, are you going to weigh that? And are you going to put that in there? I don't know. If you step into a viper pit, you're going to get bit. That's putting yourself in harm's way, knowingly doing that. People that come out from out of town into another town, and I have no doubt this person, because he admittedly follows Hale's channel, had to have known what kind of people were over there. He knows now for sure, but I think he knew beforehand. And it's not really the kind of place where I'd want to go around. It looks pretty junky from the outside, only from the videos I've seen. And I've seen a lot more lately than I have earlier on. Seems like there's a lot more cameras on the place. These people are under scrutiny 24 hours a day. And I'm talking about John and Lynette. And they're getting paranoid, very paranoid. And I think probably Jeremy is getting paranoid. He gets his share of threats. He's got to be a little careful what he does or where he goes. And he orchestrates a lot of it, I believe. He's not dumb by any means. As far as how I feel about the whole situation, you know, when I apologized the other day, it was over the guy's record. And no matter what, he does have a record, but he's apparently reformed and has not committed any acts that are criminal acts. And pat him on the back for that. As far as my saying that I don't think that it was using good sense for him to go over there to that property, I stand by that. I just don't think it was. The people that say they didn't go on the property, they're wrong. These people were on that man's property, even though they were on the side of the property or on the side of the fence that was towards the road. They were that you have to understand that fence, both sides of that fence belong to those people. And it's that way when you go in most places, unless it's a border fence. Kind of keep that in mind. And there is a difference between border fence and the type of fence you're going to see out there on their property. If you have other questions, go ahead and answer them on here. I would ask you, don't get in attack mode, and I won't either. Now, as far as in the future, how much I'm going to talk about, probably very little. You know, it's kind of like you see this nice lake out there, and you know it's full of E. coli because of all the hundreds of thousands of ducks walking around. And you take a swim in it, you're going to get sick. E. coli is E. coli. You put yourself in a dangerous situation, and the consequences are getting sick. So when you have an attractive nuisance, Otter Creek is an attractive nuisance. Now you're going to say, well, there's nothing attractive about it. I'm talking about something that draws your attention in. By law, attractive nuisance is just that. And there's certain things that can be construed by law about attractive nuisance. So, please, just don't reinterpret my words or put somebody else's words in my mouth today. I'm not. Matter of fact, I'm not going to argue with you about it. It's just not worth it. I can't remake what's out there in Otter Creek. And I'm probably not going to change your mind about how you feel or how you feel about the justification of a parent being able to do anything they want with a child. It's a moral responsibility to do the right thing for a child. And if you think the moral thing is to go ahead and take them out where they have a right to be, even though it be dangerous, I feel sorry for you for that type of interpretation that you might get from that. But I was told that over and over and over on the people that came to my channel. Well, as it is, it was a record number of comments that happened to come through there. If I was monetized, it would have paid off very well. To the person out there that thought I was getting paid every time somebody come on there, I've never been paid a nickel, not a penny for being on YouTube, not so much as anything. No gifts, absolutely no gifts. There's no PayPal up there. I don't sell merchandise. Nothing. I'm just having a good time. My real hobbies, right over here, that's one of my hobbies. I've got another pickup outside. It actually, it's a Cadillac Escalade EXT pickup. There's not too many, well, there's a few around. It's pretty nice, and I've been working on it. It has immaculate interior in it. The body rusted out in some of the spots. I bought it off from a car dealer, and he got it way up into, I think it came out of Minnesota. And they use a lot of salt, apparently, because I've had some problems with it. I've had to replace some things in the undercarriage. And the body work that was done on it wasn't done correctly, so I'm taking a little bit at a time and redoing it. A little can this big, well, actually it's two little cans that big, was $118, I think, that I'm touching up with. Now, it goes a long ways, but goodness sake, that paint has really went up from, my earlier days. I used to be able to buy a whole gallon for $30, and I could paint a car lickety split and it'll look good, buff it down a little bit, and go on with business. The pickup out there is called, it's a pearl diamond white or something like that. Okay, GM color. That's common. One of my other hobbies is, like this bike here. For me, it's hard for me to get around. So, like I used to, I got rid of my regular bike. Both my wife and I got rid of our bikes. They were good exercise, when we bought them. But that was over almost 30 years ago that I bought them. We had them a long time. And this one I bought last year, and it's fun. It's got, the bags were free. I owned this thing for, I think, 4 months, and they wrote me and asked me if I wanted those bags, and I said, sure. And they gave me the hydraulic brake kit. That was free. So, they've really been good to me. But I've never got anything, no discounts or nothing on this bike. Matter of fact, they didn't even know I have a YouTube account when they sent me that stuff. So it wasn't anything like, we're going to give this to you. I wasn't the only one that got this free stuff. Everybody that had bought bikes in about the time I did, which was a year ago, last March, I think is when they delivered it, got the same thing. They got, you could take your choice of gifts, and they got the hydraulics, they were given that. Then the seat, I had to pay for this. I think I paid an extra $49 to get that. It's got a little suspension system in it, in the neck, up here, right there. It bounces up and down. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with it, because you see, I can pedal somewhere, and then when I run out of energy or I can't pedal any further, I can just stop pedaling and let the electric motor bring me back. The electric motor sits right back here. And it's I think it's a 750 watt that churns out to 1250 as needed. It has controllers and stuff down in here. The battery's up here. It can be removed and locked and turned on and off. It's pretty decent setup, and even though it's made in China, I was surprised, and I'm not a China fan, but in today's world, you have a choice. A lot of things are not made here in the United States, so you end up buying up mostly a lot of Chinese stuff, especially if it's EV stuff. Most of your batteries, either the material comes from China or the whole thing does. It's funny, we're changing over to electric vehicles, and we're making China rich doing it. and we're going poor. And electricity isn't cheap, by the way. I forget how much more I paid last year and the year before and the year before. It seems like every year there's kind of a pretty good jump in price. And then there's an extra price they put on this time of the year. because of the usage for air conditioners. I bought a dishwasher the other day, not the other day, it hasn't been very long ago. But anyway, I went on consumers, and they had two types that were at the very top list. And so I called around, I found one, and I bought it. And now I installed it myself. I went and picked it up and brought it home. And the government standards changed on dishwashers. So on my old one, it had quit. And I'm kind of wishing I'd had it repaired because it was actually better. You see, this dishwasher, it doesn't have that final heat cycle where just the electric element in there sits there and warms everything up and drives the moisture out. So just at the end of the cycle, you hear this little thing go off, it goes beep, 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 beep. And then you hear pop, like that. Well, the door pops open about an inch, and the steam kind of rolls out. Now, the water is heated up with a heating element down there. But to meet the government standards, they had to drop the heat cycle where that goes back on to drive the moisture out. So they use the heat that's already present to help drive the moisture out. Plus, you have to put a solution in there that helps the rinse cycle so all the water falls off. Now, I don't know how good that stuff is for you because the water does fall off, and if you don't use it, when you take the stuff out, you have to dry it off because it's still wet. If you bought a new dishwasher lately, that's what you're up against. Now, we did buy a washer and dryer not too long ago. And it uses less water. It's high efficient. And we were starting to have trouble. How do you get your clothes real clean? Because sometimes, and we only noticed it in the rinse cycles, sometimes they don't give you enough water to really get everything clean. And the loads aren't as big. Even though we have an oversized washer, it doesn't necessarily do all that. Well, there again, it was the government standard. They wanted to save water and energy. So they hold the manufacturers to a certain standard, otherwise they fine them. They can't, there's an excess tax on it. It's a fossil fuel type tax. Yeah, that was passed, about 3.5 years ago. Part of it is, it's not law or anything, but presidential, I forget what they call it now. But anyway, the president signs off on it. You don't need permission from anybody, he just does it. They have to follow through with it, even though it isn't a real law. But this Greenpeace program has affected you and I. I know I got off the subject today, but I figured you'd had enough of the BS about ranting and raving, and we don't have to do that much because it isn't fun to listen to. And what I found out yesterday was not as many actually listened to what you were saying. The words are lost in the way it was delivered. If I'd have used a different type of delivery system, I think more people would have heard it, although they may not have agreed, but they would understand where I was trying to come from. For those out there that are willing to listen to it, come on and listen to anything I've got. Temper tantrums are just that. We all get them. I don't know why, but we do. I still feel the way I do about parental guidance. Just because it is legal to do something, you still have to weigh it. And when people come back and justify parents that put their children in harm's way by saying, well, they didn't do anything wrong. Over and over I told you about moral wrongs. You have to look at the moral standards out there and try to wrap yourself around those. Good sense sometimes is a way to do it too. You certainly wouldn't let even though there's a walkway, you wouldn't want your child to walk across a busy street, in that, even though it's a walkway, without some kind of guidance or help with a light or something overhead, because it's so dangerous. People don't always look, and people don't stop for walkways. So to have allowed a child out there by themselves walk across that would be, I don't think you would be a very good parent to let that happen. There are parents out there that let their kids go quite a ways without their scrutiny, and I feel bad for them. I know when I was growing up, there was less things to worry about. The people were a lot different. Today, not so much. It's a tough world out there. I think you have to keep your eye on your children. I know the people next door, they're taking care of one of their great grandkids full time. And boy, that little Dickens, he's getting rough. He is a breath of sunshine and fresh air for sure. I enjoy talking to him because he's so full of it. He just turned 3 years old, by the way. And his grandpa, he complains from time to time, but he's got a sparkle in his eyes every time that kid is running around. You can't catch him. They can't get out running. He says, yeah, you know, he says when his grandmother comes home, he runs for her. He forgets all about me. He takes care of him all day. Well, he was laid off a long time ago. In a couple years, he'll be able to draw Social Security. I'm assuming he probably will then. Great neighbor. Yeah, sometimes I think I'd be better off to just go with the neighbors and sit on his porch and talk with him than I would be on here. 'Cause I'm sure, oops, and there it goes. That thing down there, I got to put a new spring in there. It's always coming unhinged. Oh my. Yeah, I probably never would learn. Well, come on back. Do what you have to do. As far as Otter Creek, I think I'm done advising people. I don't really think that I'm going to make a difference. You know, some people, you just can't open their eyes. Some people are overwhelmed with the BS from other parties. If you take a deep breath and just listen to what somebody's telling you and try to see if it makes sense, maybe you can guide your ideas around that and some of your responsibilities. And it doesn't have to be me that you're listening to. You can listen to, obviously, it's your choice where you want to go for that advice. I don't approve of a lot of things today, but then I was born in a different era. Back when I grew up, it was different. Not that any one era is safety-proof or anything like that. Us kids could do more things back then without stepping into a viper pit. There still were some nasty people out there. We avoided them. We usually knew who they were. I grew up in a town. At the time, there was 6,000 people in that town. I lived on the edge, and my grandfather's farm was about a little over a quarter mile away. And I could go out there anytime I wanted to get away from everything. And there was a creek right just, I don't know, maybe, 80 or 90 paces from the front door. It wasn't very far away. Now, we were elevated enough so we didn't get caught in the spring floods. I know, that's way off the beaten track, too. Today's one of the days I get a good night's sleep. Oh, the other thing is, to all you subs that were backing me up, man, thank you so much. You made my day. I know a lot of you agree with some of the things I said. Some of you agree only with part of them, but not so much with the others. I still thank you. There were some out there that, even though I don't agree with them, they had some pretty good ideas. And some of them that asked me to back off probably was for my own well-being. And they probably had my best interest at heart, But boy, sometimes the aggravation of listening to some people you just can't listen to. And I know there's some of you out there don't want to listen to me too, and that I understand. After yesterday, I really understand. Oh heck! Well, let's get back to normal life, if there's such a thing. And do I think there's an attractive nuisance out there? And now, by the way, I'm not talking about Tubetown. Okay, Willis, I think, does a good job out there, and there's no way I would ever disparage that man. I think he is very good. He's a lot sharper than a lot of people give him credit for, and he has a good heart. I really believe that. I'm not going to. Attractive nuisance I'm talking about is when people, whether it's me or anybody else, when we're reporting on Otter Creek, he becomes attractive to other people, and they want to see if what we've been talking about really exists there. In general, Otter Creek isn't known for good things. I can tell you right now. There's some good things happen there, but the rhetoric and the things that circle, and if you don't believe me, go on there and look at all the things that come up around Wikipedia. And just put in Otter Creek, and when you can bring Wikipedia up, look at everything that's before and after it and around it. It puts Otter Creek in a bad light, and that's because of people that have channels similar to mine that have talked about Otter Creek and a negative title. No matter how many times you read it, the negative title is what stays in your mind, and it's because it's made pretty in big letters and all kinds of stuff. If, and I haven't figured out, how can you make something that wouldn't draw people into an area that has toxicity in it? The good people there in Otter Creek, they are good people. And I've seen at the last two meetings they've had how well they can get along, even though before it didn't seem like they were getting along. But they've been there for hundreds of years, so if they lasted that long, why is all of a sudden we have this turmoil that is really turned the entire town upside down? And both parties, they're fighting. It's a matter of you're either on my side or you're not. If you're not, you're an enemy. Both sides feel that same way, and it shouldn't be that way. People should be able to have friends no matter what it is on either side if they so want to. They don't have to. Myself, I understand. There's no way I would go over to the place that's Lynette's and John's over there. I wouldn't do that. I don't think it's safe, and they're not the kind of people that I would normally hang around. Somebody asked me, said, well, how would you like them for neighbors? Well, I mean, that goes without saying. I don't want them as neighbors. Sometimes you don't have a lot of choice. It's not that I haven't had some bad neighbors over the years, but I try to leave them alone, and for the most part, they'll leave you alone. You just got to figure out how to make that distance more distance, if there's such a thing. With that, I'm going to let you go. I'm up to 38 minutes. That's awful long. The average for this thing, for somebody staying here and watching it, might be 10 to 12 minutes. If it's really poor, it'll be around 6 minutes. And I'll let you know the analytics later on, okay? By the way, you can find analytics. There's a program out there that allows you to look at my channel or anybody else's channel to see how they're doing. Thank you very much for listening. You have a good day.